Hi and welcome, I'm Debbie Clement-Large, and in this video we're going to be having a look at whether ideas are any good. Now if you watch my last video, which was called How to Get Your Next Cracking Idea, that was all about forming and generating ideas. So if you haven't watched that already, why not visit my YouTube channel Debbie Clement-Large, or visit my website whyfollowtheherd.com and take a look at that short video just to see the best ways for generating ideas. Now what we discovered in that video is that there are two important things that we need to remember when this is especially true when we're wanting to solve a problem or wanting to come up with new ideas. So the first thing is that we need to separate the action of creating ideas with the evaluation of them, because they're two completely different mindsets. And then the second thing we need to remember is we need to suspend judgment on each idea. That means we mustn't be critical, we mustn't write it off as an idea. So once we've done that bit and we've generated our ideas, then we need to move into evaluation. Now this is the bit where we see whether our ideas are any good, and we need to bring judgment back into the evaluation, but in a positive and productive way. So taking the ideas that you've created, we need to work out which ones have possibility. Now there are different ways to do this, but I would really suggest having a balanced approach to that. And the problem we can have with evaluation is the tendency to look at an idea and have the immediate response of stating what's wrong with it. And we've all done it, and I do it. I often get ideas just before I'm about to go to sleep. Just about to nod off, and suddenly, I'll have what seems like an amazing idea pops into my head. So I have to put the light on, and I have to get up. I tend to keep a notepad and pen beside the bed so I can jot the ideas down. Because if I don't write them down, I'll forget them. And then in the morning, what's really interesting is that the idea doesn't necessarily seem so good in the cold light of day. What seemed fantastic and just an amazing idea when I went to sleep, just kind of think, not brilliant, maybe I shouldn't bother with this. So, we have that critical eye, and it just means that we can easily dismiss an idea before we've really explored it fully. So we need to approach it in a balanced way. Right. So our brains are wonderful in the way they work. So they take in information and then they form patterns. This is what Edward de Bono said. So our patterns, our brains gather that information up, and then it sort of funnels it into a pattern. Now we have lots of different patterns in our brains for different situations and experiences that we've had in our lives. And it wants to be able to recognise that in the future that you get this information comes in and you do X, Y and Z and that's your outcome. But what happens though is that when we get something new, how does our brain respond to that? So what happens is it takes the two crosses on there, or our new ideas, and it works like crazy to try and find an established pattern that is remotely connected to those new bits of information, those new ideas. And when it can find something remotely connected to it, it will take you down one of its patterns, and it will follow the logic of that pattern through to an outcome. So if you imagine, it's the same way that we drive down a road. If we're in an area we don't know very well, we'll be looking around, we'll be searching for, a turning or something that looks familiar, or, trying to look at a map or look at notes we've made. And then as soon as we see some familiar roads, well, that's it. We can kind of go on autopilot, can't we? We know the way, we don't have to really think about it. We just drive. And that's the same way as our brains work. So if we're not careful, our brains take us down the pattern of tried and tested routes, and we can end up discounting an idea for not being very good, when in reality it could be a fantastic idea if we had a different perception of that idea. So if we rely on just old patterns of thinking, we can be led to believe that there's no point maybe even in dreaming or pursuing new thoughts, because they won't work. And that's a really risky strategy, because without variation and without novelty, there can be no growth or evolution. So what we really need to be is open and curious and receptive to new ideas. So the trick is to get into the mindset of being open and receptive, and to looking at things in a different way. And as we do that, we need to bear in mind our objectives. So when we're looking at ideas, what do we want to capture out of them? Because at the idea creation stage, our intuition can bring us insights and novel ideas, but ultimately they must be able to work in reality, which means they must meet the needs of that reality. So when we're evaluating, we need to take into account things like cost, time, and resources. But we really need to stay focused. Evaluating ideas takes a completely different mindset to creating them. So we need to remember that the ideas we've created rarely come fully formed. We might be just looking for the seed in something. We have to put our critical hats on and really test and refine the ideas. Try to associate thinking with it. Really explore that idea just to find something in it that might work. And a good way to have a look at it is the point evaluation tool. So the P stands for positive. So when you first evaluate your idea, look for the positive things in it. Really take your time and explore all the avenues. So once you've done all the positive things, look for the opportunities. Consider what opportunities that idea will open up for you. Then we look at the issues. So then we can go through the possible problems that this idea could cause or generate. And lastly, we look at new thinking. Are there any new ideas or associations that we can have from this idea? Can we use it as a stepping stone to another idea? Can we expand on the idea? Is there an element or a seed of that idea that we can grow? And this is really important because we're wanting to take a balanced view of analysing our ideas. And you'll note that we started off on a positive and balanced approach. And it stops us from eliminating an idea too quickly. Because, that's not what we want to be doing. And what we really need is practice. That gibbon on there is carrying a little 4-week-old baby. And it'll take a little bit of practice for that little baby gibbon to get as competent and confident at rope swinging and climbing as its mother is. So, we need to take time. We need to allow ourselves to grow into that and to practice. So, take your time, enjoy the process and enjoy finding the seedling of a new idea. Because, it could blossom and bloom into something that is a wonderful solution to your problem. But please keep in contact. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. Give me a shout on Twitter or on Facebook. Drop me an email. I always like hearing from people. It's fantastic when you people keep in contact. And I hope to see you again soon. And take care.